Okay, Wave, I'll give your model kits one more chance, but just because it's a Tekkaman Blade model kit. Longtime viewers might remember that a long time ago, I reviewed the 1/72nd scale Legios Eta made by Wave, which unfortunately never made me want to buy a Wave model kit ever again. But what are you gonna do when one of your favorite 90s animes gets a model kit that's looking as awesome as this? Well, I got it as fast as I could from my favorite online hobby store, Hobbyling Japan, and you can do too using the link down below. And the first impression is really good. This is one of the nicest model kit boxes I've had in a long time. The cover is nice and shiny and just looks plain badass. The sides then are mostly the usual stuff, showing us pictures of the finished model, a list of things included, an overview of the story, and even the tools you need. We'll soon find out why this is a lie. And then last but not least, even the inner box is nice and shiny. You can even tell I have a Full Metal Alchemist wall scroll on the wall. So opening this up definitely feels higher class than your average model kit. We've got the matte black A, B, C, and J runners, the somewhat glossy D, E, and F runners, and finally we've got the red G runner, gray H runner, dark red I runner, and clear green K runner. And what I was most pleased by here was how nice the red runner looks. Red being a color that doesn't always look quite as nice as it should on model kits. Inside the manual then, we get some really nice art of our redesigned Tekkaman, and we end with some information about the anime. You know what? I'm beginning to think that I was just unlucky that the Eta was my first Wave model kit. So far, everything is looking amazing. Let's assemble this thing. And literally the first thing I try to put together doesn't want to go together and is causing ugly stress marks. And unfortunately, this is not an isolated incident. While most of the parts did go together okay, a not insignificant amount of them required a lot of force and anxiety to fit together. And some of them just straight up didn't want to go together. Now, of course, the solution here would be to trim the pegs and glue the parts together, but that's kinda defeating the purpose of a kit that is explicitly marketed as a premium snap-together model kit that does not require glue. Also, pay very close attention to the sometimes confusing manual, because I heard from my father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate that when he was building this model kit, he assembled something in the wrong order, and then when he tried to remove the parts, the peg was so fragile and jammed into the socket that there was no way to remove it without breaking it. So glue was definitely something that he needed when building this kit. And even when you're doing everything right, snapping one of those flimsy pegs off is an omnipresent threat. But many finger-killing hours later, I finally finished it. And I can now confidently tell you that after one of the worst building experiences I've had in a long time, I now have an absolutely fantastic looking Tekkaman Blade model kit. I don't know who did the redesign, but I love you. It's sharp, it's bulky but still lean, and it's just plain badass. This is definitely one of the best looking blades I've ever seen. And for all of its building flaws, the model kit still manages to look good, even as a straight build. other than the already mentioned seam lines, there's nothing wrong here. There's no stickers, and the only painting required is some black for some of the tiny details, and should you really want to, you could also apply gold to the edges of these things on the shoulders. The thing is, they're gold on the box art, but in every other picture, this is what they're supposed to look like. So once you've assembled it, again, even as a straight build, you get that nice premium feel from during the unboxing. Or perhaps I should say, look rather than feel. And the accessories and gimmicks definitely follow this trend. The most iconic attack in his arsenal is of course the Voltekka. Which is beautifully and intricately replicated here. You open up this panel on the backside, after which the entire thing folds out, ready to take out any spider crabs unfortunate enough to be within range. And then for close combat, we get the trusty Tech Lancer, for which we get 3 different kinds of poles. The normal one that goes in either the left or right holding hand, the 2 separate ones that go into the same holding hands, or the angled one that comes with its own dedicated right holding hand. And since we're talking about hands, we also get an extra open left hand. And then the final accessory we're getting is the Tech Shield. And what I really like here is how they handled the mounting onto the model kit. Rather than having an ugly nub always sticking out, you instead get an extra arm part that you then attach the shield to replace the flush version. But remember what I said about disassembling this thing? I would advise you to make your decision one way or another, and then sticking with it. Then if you don't want to use the Tech Shield on the arm, you can also store it on his butt, in very much the same way that the shield went onto the arm. So no matter which configuration you go for, no ugly holes or pegs. And then finally, we also got some leftover duplicate parts. On to the articulation then, which isn't actually as good as the design would lead you to believe. The head is on a double ball joint, the shoulders hinge really far forwards, but not backwards, causing Blade to always be a bit hunched forwards. They'll also rotate around, and the shoulder armor can go up and down. The arms then go up and down as well, rotate around below the shoulders, bent at the elbow on 2 joints, but bending the lower one feels like you're breaking something. The wrist then is on a really nice ball joint and hinge combo, with the hands being on the usual single ball joint. The waist then was the biggest surprise. We get some forwards, backwards, sideways, and rotation down there, and that's it. The legs then will go forwards and backwards really far thanks to the design, and the same goes for the outwards movement. They'll also rotate around, the knees are double jointed with some armor separation, and then the feet will go forwards, backwards a bit, rotate a bit, go sideways a bit, and this yellow piece goes forwards and backwards. So overall, while the articulation isn't bad, they definitely could have done so much more. There's the obvious things like the waist and the toes, and the smaller details like these little thrusters on the side of the chest. Oh, and one final thing I noticed while taking pictures, by the way, is that this thing on his crotch looks like it should connect to some kind of action base. But the manual doesn't actually say anything about it, so maybe it's some kind of future thing for if they release Pegasus? So as always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Yes, but also no. If all you care about, or mostly care about, is a pleasant building experience, run. You will find no such thing here. As soon as I started building, it was one pain after another. Parts that didn't go together, pegs ready to snap, sharp edges digging into my finger, and so on and so forth. But with every little painful step, I could see this awesome looking model kit slowly coming together, and I was very pleased when it was done. And my fingers were really happy too. 7,000 yen might sound quite expensive, but Blade here is also a pretty big boy. Here he is next to the 110 scale Saeki Ritsuka and the Figma UMP9, who is 112 scale. And just look at that size difference. Like, this thing is even taller than most master grades, as you can tell by the average Gym Command and the slightly taller than average Jagen. And here's a fun fact about that. Tekkaman Blade was designed by Yoshinori Sayama, who is an apprentice of Yutaka Itsubushi, who did the designs for the Gym Command and the Jagen. And then finally, here it is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the usually bulky Zaku 3. Don't worry buddy, there's always next time. So that has been all for this review of the worst best kit I've built in a while. Or is it the best worst kit? You can decide for yourself by buying it from Hobbling Japan with the link down below. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great day, and I'll see you all next time.